In fact, it is the key to understanding the culture of different nations and their unique position in history. It is transmitted through language, traditions, history, and art. Language is not just a means of communication, it plays a key role as a carrier of meanings. What happens with the cultural code as our life moves to the digital space? We work in cloud services, artificial intelligence. Our children grow up with AI assistants, voice assistants. We live in the social media. So if language is not represented online, it disappears from real life. If we don't have the keyboards, if we don't have machine translation for a particular language, it becomes very, very difficult to use a local language in the digital environment. This is not a hypothetical threat. It is quite a real threat that dozens, hundreds of languages have to face around the world. Today, we'll talk about what has been done in Russia in order to prevent that, what technologies can be used to preserve languages in the digital space, where we have already achieved results, and where we're just making our first steps. I want to give the floor first to our colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please welcome Sergei Chumarev, Deputy Director of the Department of Multilateral Cooperation on Human Rights. Sergei is in charge of matters related to preserving the linguistic legacy of minorities of the North. We are celebrating 10 years, or the decade of minority languages. This is an initiative of UNESCO, and this decade is announced for the period of 2022 and 2032. Thank you very much. It is a big honor for a representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to participate in this forum. I'm here representing the Human Rights Department. This department has a certain history of protecting the cultural rights of various peoples. The process started a long time ago. It started with the right to education. It started with everything that was done by the socialist planning system of the economy, the Soviet Union economy of education and its contribution into global science, art. We are today facing challenges of the digital era. The majority of international organizations and experts have swiftly responded to what is happening in this sphere and to all the emerging challenges that tend to replace or displace rather the minority languages around uh, the world, displacing them from the modern information environment. Unfortunately, the digital space that we inhabit from the point of view of the diplomats doesn't look like the sphere of knowledge, the noosphere. You know, the noosphere is a Soviet concept describing kind of a knowledge or consciousness shell that envelopes the planet. But in fact, from the point of view of political economy and the development of minority languages, they are all connected with the traditional forms of household economy that are being again displaced from the regional and national and global domestic products. Languages disappear, literature, these languages disappears. Overall, the space where these languages can be used is shrinking economically, socially, in the family setting. We are a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So what we are trying to do is we analyze both Russian and the international experience together with the Federal Agency for Ethnicities and other relevant authorities, and together with our leaders in the creative industries. There are lots of companies operating in the field. I will not list all of their names. We are trying to make our contribution into digitalizing of the languages and of the cultural heritage overall. And of course, we are making progress, and there is international competition. It's not just us, but Google, for instance, they are also looking into these matters. They are also digitizing the minority languages of Russia. And they're using not only the civilized methods of competition, but they have their own vested interests in terms of, say, security. But as highlighted by the decade of the minority languages, we know that it's a grassroots movement. Now we have dozens of NGOs, NPOs, and activists that are now producing world-class products. I'm talking about translation machines, AI-based solutions, and similar solutions. All countries that have whose population is made up of not just one ethnicity but many different ethnicities, they uh, proceed along the path of public-private partnerships. In some economies, it's the market that drives that trend, like in the United States. And the US wants to be the global leader. In some other countries, the government is more deeply involved in the process. So I want to close my remark here by urging the companies that have not yet contacted our department. If you want us to showcase your solutions, if you want to share help if you want our help in sharing your experience in the international arena, please get in touch with us, because there are other mechanisms. There are lots of mechanisms available. OSCE, the Southeast Asian platforms are abundant, and I hope that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs becomes your partner in this outreach work. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure. The ministry is a wonderful partner, and you're helpful not only in your international offices, yeah, the ministry also has offices in the country, and we uh, rely on you. Technical, international, as well for the coordinator for the office of the Asians Union for the CIS countries. Welcome. Last year, the Baku International Conference produced together that was universal acceptance, races in different areas. The objective is to improve our positions in these ratings. From your perspective, is it possible to implement specific indicators associated with universal acceptance? UA, can it be a component in existing ratings? Yes, thank you very much, Andrei. And thank you for the invitation to speak at this representative forum. It's my pleasure to be here. And can we have the slides on the screen, please? I was thinking about how best to share information with you. Everyone agrees that it's an important matter, so I will not spend time explaining why I decided to speak at this session, but let me explain what the ITU is doing. In the field, ITU is an intergovernmental organization. Russia is one of the uh, founding countries. The ITU was established in 1965 to coordinate telegraph codes that existed at that time. And after that, we received a mandate to coordinate for radio frequencies, satellite orbits, information society, cybersecurity, everything that one way or another is related to the development of ICTs. ITU is made up of member states. The decisions are taken by the member states, but companies from the private sector, well-known names, are also members of the organization, together with more than 150 universities. So we are open to cooperation with the academia and the private sector. As our Secretary General, Mr. Logan Martin said, connection should be meaningful connectivity. It should be safe, beneficial, enriching, and productive. 10 years ago, we were talking about connecting everyone to the networks, to the ITU, but now this connection, this connectivity should be meaningful. That's our main priority. And statistically speaking, two-thirds of the world are using the internet already. We are one of the leaders in terms of availability of broadband internet, and one more, and affordability also of broadband internet. And this is a slide on the urban rural divide. Russia still has, and the CIS generally has room to make progress. And speaking about supporting minority languages in the context of these statistics, all these matters help us focus on meaningful connectivity. It's not enough just to have access to the internet. This access should be useful to the user, so they can feel safe. The connection should be secured, and the users should be certain that their data would not leak, that the fraudsters will not abuse the technology for the purposes of fraud, and connectivity should be relevant. It means that users should have access to content, to some capabilities applicable to the cultural context of the user, applicable to the territory inhabited by that user. So the services should be relevant. And speaking about availability, affordability, why this is important. Well, actually, the services should be available in the local language to everyone who lives on planet Earth. Let's take e-government as an example. E-government services should be in the local languages of a particular country. Uh, Content should also be created in in the local language. So content not should to be not only consumed but also created in the languages that people use in their daily life. And cultural context, that's the third component, cultural context for countries that have people from various cultural backgrounds, different religions. Content should be respectful towards the values that dominate in a particular society, in a particular community. We can't say that there is such thing as an absolutely universal content that can be suitable to absolutely anyone. And Russian experience is invaluable in this respect. Russia is uh, it speaks Russian, which is one of the six official languages of the United Nations and of the ITU, and we appreciate work carried out by Russia to promote the Russian language internationally. We are grateful for the content that's already been generated and the cultural diversity available online. We hope that this huge those huge reaches, cultural reaches, will keep becoming digital and will be made available to all the users around the world. Besides, Russia is a unique country in terms of ethnic diversity. It has a lot of peoples living here, speaking different languages, and the experience of digitizing the languages and preserving the languages that people speak here is a unique experience. So, Andre, to answer your question, we would be interested in finding out which indicators you use inside the country. We have our own index of ICT infrastructure development. We measure the number of ports, the number of gateways, the number of internet users, and for Russia, in Russia, to grow in this rating, given the size of the country, given the remoteness of various sites, to grow in this rating, Russia will have to invest hugely. But digitalization of languages, I think that perhaps if we added such a parameter to the rating, and given again the experience and the amount of work that has already been done in Russia, maybe this would enable Russia to be upgraded in this rating quite quickly. Now, in conclusion of my talk, ICU engages in partnerships to execute its mandate. We cooperate with member states, with the universities, with academia, private sector. We help countries develop standards. We want to make sure that ICTs, the various technologies, are compatible. We provide trainings. We build build potential in the area of I-governance that people are talking about everywhere. We are creating potential in faraway locations, like in Kyrgyzstan. We provide training to the computer sciences teachers that later would teach children in remote areas of Kyrgyzstan. Thank you very much, Farid. We have a Russian group on the universal acceptance challenges, and we also have the regional group of Central Asia and Eastern Europe, where we've got domain names spelled with local alphabets. So probably these two groups can work together on developing new criteria so that we can fix or rather expand the international ratings or indices. Now, you said that many languages are the basis for inclusive digital development, which correlates very well with the ethnic policy of the Russian Federation. Now, our next speaker is Timur Tsibikov, head of the Department for State Policy in the sphere of inter-ethnic relations, Federal Agency for Ethnic Affairs of Russia. So the floor is yours, Mr. Tsibikov. You have carried out the monitoring of the languages. Have you seen any changes? What are you doing with the findings of this monitoring? How are they translated into regulation? Thank you very much, Andre, and thank you, dear friends, colleagues. It's wonderful that we are hosting this meeting today on the development of information society. And this year, was named by the Russian president as the year of unity of peoples. And on the eve of this year, the president signed a decree confirming the strategy of ethnic policy. And it's a new document. It's a kind of a roadmap until the year 2036. And this document states clearly the objective of this policy in Russia, which is strengthening the unity of peoples and Russian identity while preserving the ethnic diversity and linguistic diversity. So unity through diversity is the basis of Russian identity. Russian is the language of inter-ethnic communication. Diversity in culture, in ethnic culture, is an important and integral component in strengthening the political internal stability of the state. Big stimulus for our work was the announcement of the decades of minority languages, 2022-32. A lot of activists who cooperated with IT majors now joined that initiative, and as a result of the measures taken by the National Organizing Committee for this decade, now we have already recorded some tangible results, and I see you, Farid, right? You are seeing the country level performance or rather results in terms of preserving minority languages, integrating them into the digital space. So today I'll be talking about the general situation where, in which the minority languages in Russia find themselves. This is our second monitoring, and we have carried out this review as part of a greater exercise. We are cooperating with other ministries and authorities. We, as the Federal Agency of ethnicities, we were responsible for the digital part of it, for the integration of the languages into the digital space. We covered 41 constituent entities of the Russian Federation. We focused on official languages that are prescribed as official in a particular territory, in a particular region. The language of the indigenous people, language of minorities. UNESCO today is developing the World Atlas of Languages. We are supplying information on 78 languages. There are a lot of discussions around whether a particular language is actually a language or a dialect, or maybe some transit form. And there are some languages that are split into two sub-languages. Well, we do have those as well, but overall, it's the list of 70 languages that you see shown on the slide. Our Institute of Language Studies say that there are about 150 languages in Russia, but for our monitoring, we selected those 70 languages. Now, what do these 70 languages have? For 68 languages, we've got digital dictionaries. This number is growing. You may think that it's not too much, but in fact, a lot of work is being done. What's important is that some of these languages are low resource languages, as they are known. They are languages of the indigenous peoples. We only have scanned versions of printed dictionaries that are difficult to recognize with machine vision. As to speech technology synthesizers, analyzers, they are available only for 8 languages. Well, those languages are uploaded into Yandex, and this work continues. We keep thanking Yandex at every opportunity, because Yandex is helping us a lot. Well, we are helping them, they are helping us. We are doing this job together. We are bringing the languages into the digital space, and this year or last year, we added several more languages to Yandex. 42 languages now have language corpora. In 2026, we only had 36 languages covered. So you see, there is good dynamics. Together with the Yandex, we carry out a big project to upload the languages into the Yandex translation service. And in order to upload the languages, machine translation needs language corpora. That's corpuses. Corpuses. That's why we are doing this. there are various mobile application programs for personal computers. They exist for 56 languages. Again, and there is progress. 70 languages in all, covered by this review. 56 languages already they can already make use of mobile applications. Speaking about digital divide, Russian people's languages often use additional characters in the Cyrillic alphabet. They have these additional characters that are not part of Unicode, and maybe ITU can help us in that. Can we get these characters included? Because our calls have not yet yielded any results. No one is saying no, but unfortunately, some of the symbols are still missing. It's an American company. Well, anyway, but it would be best if these characters will be included into Unicode. It will be easier for everyone to hear it. Paratype, a private company, designed correct characters in Cyrillic they designed the types that are available in Cyrillic for everyone for free. And so we'd like to thank Paratype for that. Speaking about keyboard layouts, 59 languages have their own keyboard layouts. As part of uploading the languages into Yandex, they expand not just the translator per se, but also the Yandex keyboard. On some of our smartphones, in different messengers, we can start using, we can use the Yandex keyboard that was developed specifically for Russian languages to make lives of our users easier. And the main project that we are executing is machine translation systems, uploading the languages into the national service. Alexander probably will talk about that later, but in the last 2 years, Yandex Translate is now offering 11 more additional languages. The process continues, and in many Russian regions, this work is being done.
Well, unfortunately, only 13 languages are covered by spell checking services, but we hope that in the future it's take off. Some of the technical specifications and facts and figures on the number of languages used, but at the current stage, the different languages are in different states. Keyboard layouts have already been designed for some languages, while others work on large language models. But nevertheless, we see common interest from the language activists and large IT companies, and we're trying to shape an ecosystem to digitize languages. And I'd like to thank the CCTLD for an ability to register domains in various languages of the Russian minority peoples. All the segments penetrate each other, and the corpora that we develop, we hand over to Sber for it to be used in their LLM. The RU Wiki is looking for the authors who would generate the content that we share with each other. And we really hope that the unity of our goals will pave the way to the unity of the peoples of Russia. Thank you so much. Indeed, this is aligned with the declaration by the Russian president, which is the unity of the people. This is the year of the unity of the people. And during the opening ceremony, we talked about the public policy, and actually the legal framework is already there. All we need to do is implement the applicable laws. We need to transform laws into practical steps. And the high-tech services that people use every single day will change the views of the skeptics. Because keyboard layouts are a must. So when we declared that .rf will support minority languages, people were quite skeptic. So I'd like to pass on the floor to Alexander Bakhvityanov, project manager for localization of Yandex services into languages of the peoples of the Russian Federation. Well, Alexander, you are trying to cover all the languages, Tatar, Ossetin, Udmurt, and we know that Yandex is actively developing computer translation, and the computer translator doubled the number of languages, which is a huge leap forward. Thank you so much for that. What's in store for us looking forward? Indeed, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to start my story. Actually, I'm going to split my presentation into two parts. First, I will touch upon Russian as a language because we're here to discuss preservation of the cultural code and the cultural heritage. We are all carriers of this cultural code because every single family has its own values. Back in 2023, we initiated a project aimed at popularizing the historical heritage. By the way, Russian, from an historic standpoint, we realized that we have lots of verified data on the history of the nation, separate families, and so on and so forth. And we realized that these materials have never been posted online. Because primarily we're talking about handwritten texts that are not in the conventional Russian. They use spelling that was widespread before the linguistic reform. So in 2023, we released the project and we keep on working on this project. We believe that our project is a cornerstone in providing access to verified information and in working with historical documents, including those in the minority languages. By the way, last year, during the 85th anniversary of the Victory Day, we introduced the Страницы Победы, or Pages of the Victory project, and we posted the excerpts from the wartime newspapers and magazines. And among other things, we posted articles written in the minority languages. So, for instance, the Chuvash language was one of them. And our technologies and the level that they have achieved currently allow us to analyze these papers. We can recognize the text, we can translate it into Russian, and we can read in Russian what the Chuvash authors wrote back in 1943 or 1945, and that offers unique experience. We believe that we need to involve kids, teenagers, and college students as well as adults in this process. History makes you involved in a good sense of the word, and this is part and parcel of preserving our cultural heritage and preserving our values. It's only possible if we start offering such services. We do understand what the difference is between our project and various archive projects. Of course, enthusiasts play a very important role. However, it takes a fundamental approach to process these documents. Our global goal is to use LLMs and AI that everyone develops to be taught to think as a Russian national, to be aware of the historical facts and to have less hallucinations, because we all understand that it's only possible if you use verified sources, and this is the only way to ensure the desired result aligned with our values. Jointly with the public libraries, archives, and museums, we populate the service not just with the archives and not just papers on family history. We use various reference books, articles, combinations of articles, other periodicals that were published for 150 years, for instance. And these materials are available to be consumed in a less conventional way, I would say, because people tend to address their questions to the LLMs and the AI algorithms. They just ask a question and they get a very detailed answer coming from different sources and shaped by the AI. But of course, you should rely on verified sources, on trusted sources. Well, actually, over 25 Russian regions have access to our database, and we try to involve representatives from all regions, all libraries. The database has been populated, and I hope that in the near future we'll be able to share more information with you. Regions, as they become interested, will be more engaged in this project. And moving on to the languages of the Russian peoples, the year of 2026 was declared to be the year of unity. We started the project back in 2023. We gained steam in 2024. Naturally, Yandex focused primarily on the computer translation, and this fundamental work would have been impossible without partnership with various agencies, the House of the Russian language, of the languages of the Russian people, various linguistic institutes. Of course, it takes joint efforts, to shape the corpora, which serve as the basis for our solution and our technologies. Can only be done through partnership with the regions. And it's a very labor-intensive and hard work, especially given the fact that oftentimes languages do not contain any contemporary terms and definitions. Languages evolve over time, and they absorb and digest the events and some of the real-world objects that appear all the time and emerge all the time. Therefore, the digitalization process is not just about developing corpora and developing computer translations. We need to update the languages that are still used in the regions. And I believe that our project incentivized the regions to keep on developing that. Well, right now our products offer translation to 18 different languages of the Russian minorities. And naturally, this list will be considerably expanded. For 5 languages, synthetic translation and recognition are available. These products could be used as standalone elements of your own projects, your own programs, which is important because everything that we developed together should be used for the benefit and in the interests of social and public projects and initiatives. Our projects cover almost 400,000 unique users. I'm talking about the computer translator, almost 540,000 unique users who use our search engine. And given the census, the public census, we know that almost 10 million people are actually native speakers of the languages that we support, and it's good to understand that we are supporting and maintaining their languages. As for this year, we have a very ambitious plan to expand the list of the languages that we support. Of course, this is subject to amendments, so we will either we'll probably expand the list. I don't think we're gonna reduce the number of languages in the list. We try to develop and improve speech recognition and speech generation services. But by the end of the year, I hope we will be able to offer new products in this regard. Again, unity of peoples is important, and we want to demonstrate the diversity and the opportunities offered by advanced technologies. This slide is included to give you data on the current status. Unicode support, keyboard layouts. Of course, you can install a separate app on smartphone. we gradually include the suggested and translation function for all the languages we are trying to roll out the speech recognition system. Well, the progress since 2024 is clearly shown in this slide because the number of languages is going up all the time. In the high quality is proved by the fact that a high number of users already use these technologies on a daily basis. At the very same time, well, we mentioned Google, and it announced a very similar project a week before we did back in 2024. Of course, they eavesdropped on us, I guess, but the quality that we have achieved shows that we are on a par, or we even outpace our counterparts from Google. But we need to support these initiatives. Russian products based on available data and technologies should ensure better quality out of all the tools available in the market. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for supporting and preserving languages and the cultural heritage in Russia. I believe that these projects should be pursued jointly because standalone activities will not result in anything. Unity is our main strength. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alexander. I believe a separate round of applause should go to the House of the Peoples of Russia. It joins us together, and Faride represents the House. I think you can take this issue offline during the lunch break. The next large player in the technology and AI market is Sber, and we have Sergey Markov here, who is head of AI technology development with Sberbank. Sergey, we know that Sberbank develops AI models for working with Russia in Russian. Sber is an undoubted leader, and we've mentioned that time and again at various fora. What about the minority languages? We said that it's important for the AI not to be bilingual, but to be multilingual. What Sber can offer to the peoples of Russia? Sorry for the slip of the tongue, I meant Sber, not Yandex. Thank you for inviting me to this very important event. I'd like to seize this opportunity and think about the fact that we live in a very interesting era. We are lucky because we're witnessing critical events that are linked with the linguistic domain. The AI disruption that we've been witnessing for the past few years is rooted in the natural language processing, and the core of the popular AI services are large language models. And the breakthrough happened in the linguistic domain. The breakthrough became the prerequisite for other domains that use AI technologies. Many types of info used by the humankind are very similar to languages. For instance, music is a language of sorts. You just use a special alphabet to write it down. Programming code, programming languages, artificial languages are all similar to natural languages. Information, chemistry domain, math, these are all different languages. So it's not surprising that the computer translation technologies turned out to be very useful for other domains that deal with data processing. I love showing this picture for pop quiz purposes. If you attended my speeches before, please don't give any hints. What do you think is the common ground for these two, for these three objects? Centuries, right? So that's a map of the human history. In the early 19th century, we started saying that the human history passed through these milestone eras. We certain stage uh, by the Bronze Age to the Iron Age, and this image is not about the humankind in general, but about the society that came up with this image. Until the 19th century, not a single science paper ever mentioned Stone Age or Bronze Age or Iron Age. Before the Industrial Revolution, people would start their speeches with a story about the Adam, about Adam. Right now, the world is dominated by the data processing companies. So in terms of data processing, from the standpoint of the data processing, the history of humankind would look like this. There were other important periods, ages, and revolutions based on the way people processed information. Oral information was replaced by writing. And without writing, you couldn't have any crafts or industries. Uh, then it was followed by the printing industry. It made information cheaper several hundred or even thousand times. It made information way more available. Many processes that happened in the then Europe were closely linked to the information processing technique and the information digestion and metabolism. Industrial revolution would have been impossible without a disruption in the printing industry. And the next important milestone is the appearance of internet. It made information copying cheaper by several orders of multitude. You can read the book, a digital version of the book, which is physically on the other side of the globe. What's even more important, we now have technologies that can now automate in earnest data processing. For instance, a search engine such as Google or Yandex would have been impossible before the internet revolution. Right now, it's a part and parcel tool used by the scientists and multiple industries. And right now, I believe we're in the eye of another revolution linked with the generative AI. Despite the fact that these systems are not ideal, nevertheless, they demonstrate rapid growth rates. And in the near future, we will see systems that will be able to write a paper on any subject based on your prompt. And books will be written as you read them based on your feedback. And the level of customization will be totally different. So this is a radical breakthrough. It's a radical disruption, which makes information even more available and accessible to the people. While in the past, it took multiple researchers to write a single scientific paper because they needed to search for information in the archives online, systematize it, process that, and so on and so forth. Now it's the generative AI that made data processing disruption. And with the models, you have to be clear on the fact that they are social by in their nature. They're based on the models used by the humankind, and the generative AI models project the digital footprint depending on your specific demand or request. However, this is something of a concern to me because if you take a closer look at the structure of the global network of the internet, and if you compare it with the use of languages across the world, you will see a huge discrepancy. For instance, let's take a look at the list of the most widespread languages across the world based on the number of people based on the number of native speakers. So it's English, followed by Mandarin, followed by Hindi, Spanish, and so on and so forth. However, if you now take a look at the share of websites in relevant languages, you'll see that English dominates the internet. Half the internet is in English. Which is not true for the physical linguistic space. That poses certain risks for the linguistic language divide, and the digital divide. So how come in the era of the revolutionary changes in the digital metabolism, we need multi-language approach? Well, there are multiple reasons for that. First and foremost, we need to maintain the diversity of languages. Right now, there are over 7,000 languages in the world, and each of them is about its own unique cultural and linguistic heritage. We need to provide support to minority languages. Many of them are on the brink of extinction. The number of materials in these languages is very limited, and unless we digitize these digital heritages, well, these languages might be lost. And if they are lost, we'll lose the voice of the peoples who spoke this language for generations. And of course, we need to keep on improving the quality of computer translation. People can talk to LLMs, people can get access to information in their native languages. It's important. Therefore, multi-language data should be included into the corpora. For instance, if minority languages are added into the corpora, it'll help the LLMs to better translate texts from majority languages to majority languages. It's a non-linear correlation. There are other less obvious advantages. And by the way, the LLM model development much depends on the repertoire of the cultural diversity included in the teaching samples. And the minority languages are valuable because they expand the cultural repertoire, the cultural range, the thinking range. And ultimately, machines taught on these data sets become more intelligent. And of course, we need to do something about the digital divide. We should strive to make sure that the technological development does not result in a language divide. Quite the contrary, it should help the people whose minority languages limit them in accessing the knowledge base available to the humankind. So what do we do to improve the ongoing situation? The previous panelists mentioned most of them. First and foremost, we need to establish corpora. And by the way, they could be monolinguistic corpora. We're not talking about bilingual corpora necessarily. And minority languages oftentimes do have digital documents, but the access to them is difficult. Let's say regional newspapers that used to be published in minority languages are published online, have been published online for 20, 30 years, but they are not readily accessible. Therefore, when you establish a data set for LLMs, such valuable data turns out not to be included into the data sets used for teaching LLMs. Therefore, if we need to increase the digital footprint of the minority languages, you don't need to come up with artificial corpora. All you need to do is look for them in your digital archives. I mean, corporate archives, public library archives. They can be just posted online, and that will increase the range of the data sets. Parallel corpora is another important bullet. If you can simultaneously set up parallel corpora, then they will be more valuable as opposed to mono language corpora. And it's also important to realize that such LLM models can be used to improve the LLMs for majority languages. These are very important bullets that we need to focus our attention on. It's not an exhaustive list. We need to come up with a methodology to assess attempts as applied to different languages. It's important for us to be able to understand what the outcome is going to be if we add new data into the learning modules of our LM models. Thank you so much for your attention. I'd like to offer two QR codes to you. The first one will take you to our multi-language projects page, and there you will find a guideline for possible cooperation with our company. And if you're interested in AI development, I authored two books, 2 volumes of the book. You can download it from my website. It's totally free of charge. And you can get additional information on AI technologies development. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much, Sergey. We missed you in the previous sessions because the previous session was quite concerned about the use of AI. While you, on the other hand, were quite upbeat. Thank you so much. Technologies are important, but they only work if there are live native speakers and real enthusiasts and advocates. And we have one such advocate here. Let me introduce to you Igor Pozdеев, who has a PhD in history. He is head of the Udmurt Institute of History, Language and Literature, the Udmurt Federal Research Center of the Ural branch of the Russian Academy of Science. I believe that your team runs one of the most advanced projects to digitize native languages. Thank you so much for inviting me and for giving me an opportunity to speak at this forum. I'd like to thank the organizers for paying such attention to the cultural code and the ethnical cultural code, because digitizing and preserving cultural code is one of the top priorities if we want to preserve the cultural heritage of the Udmurt people and the peoples of Russia. As far as the cultural code is concerned, let me give you the following example. It's a screenshot that I copied from the website of our Ministry of Culture. So the Kama River is bluer than the Volga River. That's the Baigurech Mountain in the background, a natural resort, and a language is a reflection of a cultural code. I would say that, 5 years ago when I met Udmurt, who came to visit us from the Bashkir Republic, they actually said that we are losing our kids because when we try to speak Udmurt to them, they don't understand because they follow everything online in Russian. They speak Russian in high schools, and it's a problem both for Udmurt, for Tatars, for Mariel people. So Alisa in the Udmurt language was our primary request, Alisa AI. And I believe that every single linguist in our institute believes that it's a top priority. As for digitizing the languages of the Russian peoples, I would say that Udmurt is somewhere in the fifth line in terms of AI programs development. When we started digitizing Udmurt, the Udmurt language, we didn't start from the scratch. It is quite accurately represented online. We're talking about digital libraries, mass media in the Udmurt language, various websites by the municipal authorities and regional authorities. There are multiple education materials online in the Udmurt language. Moreover, the volunteers, and I'm talking primarily about the young generation, they post short videos online in Udmurt. They use special stickers in Telegram or in VK in the Udmurt language. And there is a special app that helps you study the Udmurt language. Moreover, we have a very unique Daur TV, which is a TV channel. We also have a radio station that broadcasts in the Udmurt language 24/7, and it helps you deep dive into studying the Udmurt language. And 2019 was a milestone for us because the Ministry of Education of the Udmurt, the Republic, helped us establish the Udmurt language corpora, and the monocorpora now includes 11 million words and expressions, which was difficult. Not all of our employees are ready to proofread the corpora. And now we're working on AI that will be integrated into the national corpora. Funded by the grant, we have prepared a parallel Russian Udmurt corpora. This data was shared with Yandex and partially with Sber. And let me reiterate once again that some of the computer programs are now being improved. We also signed a contract or an MOU with the Yandex Research Center because we realized that if we decided to do this on our own, first and foremost, we didn't have the relevant resources and we would find ourselves in a deadlock. It was great to see that Yandex supported us, and I believe that we did a great job. Well, the previous panelists already covered that, but I'd like to emphasize once again that the quality of the computer translation improved several fold. Well, one of my subordinates does translations in the House of the Languages. He was fired because the Yandex translator does that totally free of charge, and the Yandex translation service is the best for translating text from the Udmurt to Russian and vice versa. Udmurt speech recognition was another milestone for us. We were Udmurt became the fourth language in Russia to be included into the speech recognition program. Of course, we made multiple mistakes. We ran into various challenges, but it was a very good experience because we established a pool of volunteers. We now have a very strong team. And in one of the villages, by the way, they had multiple volunteers because voice and speech recognition required involving kids, teenagers, older people. Udmurt speech generation is the next thing I want to talk to you about. We looked for a person who would sound Udmurt because some Udmurt nationals would have Russian accent or Tatar accent, and Svetlana Pikuleva is the voice of the Udmurt generation, speech generation program. And she works for the Maya Udmurtia TV channel, by the way. She's an anchor there. We'll keep on working on that. These are the plans for the upcoming future. Jointly with Yandex, we do our utmost to keep up the good work. However, what I'd like to focus on is a view from a region. What needs to be done to the language? We need experts who love minority language and who know how to work with these languages, who understand these languages, because uh, uh, you could hardly find Udmurt native speakers who would be simultaneously IT experts. And by the way, now we have shaped an IT team that can digitize any language. We know what the process should look like. And well, the next bullet is difficulties in populating the data set because, you know, everything should be proofread. And our linguists complain all the time that the pressure is too high and I have to incentivize them somehow. You know, you have to double check the sound, the voice, the accent, and so on and so forth. Financing is another headache. In any region, there are people who are passionate about their languages, and jointly with Yandex, we managed to organize people to work on the Udmurt speech recognition and generation. If you cover these 4 bullets, you can digitize any language and you can preserve any language. Thank you so much for your presentation. Well, you are a good example that this work is not theoretical. It's down to earth. It's very practical, and all of our speakers who took the floor today offered pieces of the puzzle. And I believe that the domain industry is one of the pieces of this puzzle. I'd like to pass on the floor to Maria Kolesnikova, who is a chief analyst with the CCTLD, and she is project lead of the Поддерживай.rf. Maria, what are our priorities in digitizing minority and indigenous language? I'll try to be brief. First and foremost, for your information, what is happening in the domain industry? Starting from 2019, we defined the so-called Russian domain zone, and it includes not just the .ru and the .rf TLDs, but as well as other domain zones. It means and half of them are in Cyrillic, not in Latin alphabet. That's the first thing I want to emphasize. What is happening at the high level? Top level domains can be split into 2 categories: national or country domains and GTLDs. They depend on the interests, on the work streams, and so on and so forth. And all the TLDs historically were in Latin alphabet, but starting from 2010, we started seeing national TLDs in different languages, and Russian was one of the first languages when we introduced the .rf TLD, and then they were followed by GTLDs in different languages. Right now we have 440 top-level domains, and 151 of them are in the national languages. These are the so-called IDNs, internationalized domain names, which means that users can register domains in their national languages. Sorry for skipping this slide. Let me go back. For some reason, I cannot rewind my PPT stack. I can only forward my slides. Always moving forward is our motto. Anyway, since we now have IDNs in national languages, we started seeing emails with Unicode symbols, in other words, national language symbols before "at" and IDN names after "at." The .ru was established in 1994, and the .ru only registers domain names in the Latin language. The .rf domain was registered in 2010, and you can only use Cyrillic alphabet in this domain. The .rf domain is the world's largest domain zone as far as the number of domains registered is concerned, and this is something that we can take pride in. When we address international fora, they're always interested in our case. The number of new domain names registrations is has doubled uh, in uh, uh, in the past few months. We're talking about the .rf. In the .rf, you can only register domains in the Cyrillic language. Exactly. So what is happening with the minority language support? We could only use Cyrillic characters starting from 2010, and in August 2025, when we celebrated the 15th anniversary of the .rf domain, the CCTLD decided to add 26 new Cyrillic characters. They are shown in the slide. They are now supported, and starting from 2025, we support 18 official languages of the Russian republics. And as Andrei mentioned, this month, we plan to introduce more Cyrillic symbols to support all official languages of all Russian republics. Just by way of an example, these are not real domain names. I just manually generated, I used my natural intelligence to generate the set of domain names in national languages of the Russian republics. So as for the outcomes, right now we have over 2,000 domain names that include the new symbols, new Cyrillic symbols. The Tatar and the Bashkir languages are in the lead. These are the 5 most popular symbols. As for the registration, naturally users, and by them I mean large corporations, they register their brands in different Cyrillic combinations. And what we also see is that the most popular words are registered in most official languages. For instance, Bishbarmak or Belash, Hpachmak, and the various cultural specifics that attract attention, such as sites for tourists, national cuisine dishes, and so on and so forth. Naturally, their number is not that high as of now, but we plan to keep on promoting this project. First and foremost, it shows the interest of the target audience, and on the other hand, we try to support the global processes of digitizing of the minority and the indigenous languages. As a CCTLD, we ensure the ability to the users to use their native languages online, and they can use their national languages in the email addresses, not just the content. Among other things, it makes more convenient the use of domain names in their native languages for marketing purposes, for SMM promotions, and so on and so forth. So on our part, we provide them with every support, and it's really interesting to see how high the demand is going to be. And of course, we're going to do our utmost to promote this looking forward. In addition to that, as far as the technological aspects are concerned, starting from 2019, we launched the поддерживаю.rf or support.rf project to assist national software developers in supporting domain names and addresses in Cyrillic. And right now, the Cyrillic characters include minority language characters. We have a catalog that we update all the time. I'm talking about the list of software suites that supports Cyrillic characters. We came up with brief guidelines for software developers so that they don't need to read all the standards, because there are international internet standards that describe working with the IDNs. You can use a shorter version that we developed. Just by way of an example, I just wanted to demonstrate some of the examples. It's not an exhaustive list, but nevertheless, we are happy to see that more Russian software suites appear, and they support Cyrillic domain names, Cyrillic emails, both in Russian and the minority and indigenous languages. We're happy to see that we now have software programs that support Cyrillic emails. That was the main headache, supporting Cyrillic in emails, such as enterprise and Korean mail server. The source code mail software already supports Cyrillic, so technically wise, the solutions are there. We're moving on, and it's worth mentioning that certain Russian software suites support IDN emails better than the foreign similar foreign products. However, as far as the emails are concerned, the situation is not as good as we want it to be. The largest free of charge mail services do not support that, while foreign counterparts can and do support Cyrillic language. So there is room for improvement. I'm happy to see that this issue is being actively discussed by the public authorities, the NPOs, nonprofit organizations, the academia, and I hope that through joint efforts, we'll be able to further promote digitalization of minority indigenous languages of the Russian Federation. Thank you so much. Thank you, Maria. I believe that all the panelists deserve a round of applause for this wonderful discussion. The main takeaway is that Russia is one of the few countries that at the overlap of public bodies, businesses, and academia tries to solve the problem of preserving the cultural heritage and linguistic diversity. Of course, there are multiple problems, for instance, the lack of Unicode characters, the lack of data sets and experts who will be able to use them. But of course, a human factor is important. Engagement of volunteers, experts, and the society. If there is a will, there is a way. And I really hope that people in the regions will see our examples. I'd like to thank our panelists and our audience. Let's take a lunch break, and we'll resume at 4 p.m. There will be a section on healthcare and on child protection. And at the end of the day, we will have a celebration and a reception devoted to the 32nd anniversary